Hello, dear friends, my lovely audiences, my dear fellow Californians. Welcome to the show, Jack Chow on the East West with the GNE TV. Both of my guests today are no stranger to my audiences. They appear at different times on different shows. The fact that they are on the same show, facing the same camera, is that we have a special show today arranged to dissect an old case that's called the Fullerton Kelly Thomas beaten death case of 2012, happened on July the 5th. So, well, I have on my right hand side is my dear friend, human being that I not only cherish as a friend, but I respect as a wonderful human being with a set of a heart, a mind. And to he's a former mayor of Fullerton. He's now, I just found out, you guys rotated.
Right.
You are back to the council anyway. You still have your same vote.
Yep,
Okay.
absolutely.
Now, and to his right is my dear friend, Mr. Chris Nibby, a wonderful director who I call a fighter for justice. He's been doing lots of researches to event or incidents or history, whatever, of the similar nature. The moment I mention the case to him, he gets excited. He says, well, I am in, right? So to both of you, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jack.
Right, seriously.
Good to be here.
Seriously. And I'm very glad that my old friend, Nibby, is here too. And he wants to give us his part of takes, right? So, ladies and gentlemen, 5 years ago, July the 5th, at around 7:30 something, in a beautiful city called Fullerton, something happened. A guy was beaten to death by 6 police officers. And followed by lots of different public opinions, controversies, and so on and so forth. And there was even a closed door, pay attention to, please, closed door court session to determine those police officers who beat Kelly Thomas to death are free, right? And today, I'm not talking about the old case. The purpose of today's show is to use that as an example. We want to dissect it to see what's inside, from which I want to dig out something that I need, that my friends need, that we voters need, because the human being I'm talking about, my dear friend, Mayor of Fullerton, Mr. Bruce Whitaker, is running for the California Senate seat of 29th District. So that as a lead line, too long already, we come back to the show. Shall we please, Chris, ask Mayor to give us a retrospect about what exactly happened that night, please? Shall we?
I think that's a very good idea, yes.
Okay, all right. Please, sir.
Well, as council member, I had been on the council for only 7 months when this occurred. The first news that I received was the next morning from our city manager, who called and told me, gave me recounting of the event, saying that there was a scuffle with a homeless individual and now he was on life support and it was looking like he might not make it. And many of the facts that he related to me in that telephone call on that morning, I found over time were not accurate and would actually lead me in the wrong direction. As I received more information from word on the street and other people who were eyewitnesses, I began to realize that I wasn't receiving true information from our city administration. Mm-hmm. And so that led me then to want to attend Kelly Thomas's funeral, which was in Yorba Linda. My wife Linda and I attended. We were the only members of city government who were there. And so I met a great many people there who also were concerned with what happened, including Ron Thomas and others.
The father.
Right, and it went forward from there. And I found myself really, almost all 4 of the other council members aligned against me, as well as the police agency and the city attorney. in that process.
Mm-hmm.
But
All
what
right.
we did receive over time was, as more and more people became aware of what happened, especially later when the video was released, worldwide attention to this, emails numbering in the thousands from countries all over the world, people who were concerned with what they saw on that is a very profound. I've always urged people to view that video and decide for themselves, but I had to fight for a while on the council to get that video released. That was not an easy task. Yes.
Okay, all right, great. Thank you very much, sir. I know it's kind of hard to go back to the memories, the old memories. It is a hard way, and you walk all the way from that point on to where it is now. It will worth it. It worth it. It will worth it. Keep my word, please. Our voters have a mind. They have their own judgment. They have their own taste. They know who they want. The only problem is that sometimes they are not informed. They do not know my friend Bruce Whitaker has the kind of gut, the wisdom, and the unrelenting efforts to go all the way here right now. And later we'll talk about the fact there are two officers involved in the killing of Kelly Thomas want their job back. Should we give them a job back? Should we still lay our life and safety in the hands of some people like them? No. Okay, now, I would like to turn this microphone to my friend Chris Nibby. Chris Nibby has earned his credit to say, he has a right to say, because he's been a fighter for justice for many, many years. I rely upon him a lot, I believe. So, exactly what was your first impression when I showed you the video, please, the other day?
I was horrified. But first, I like to congratulate Mr. Whitaker for his sincere attitude because we need politicians who are honest and who are humanitarian.
Mm-hmm.
And unfortunately, politics in America have deteriorated to a point where politicians like Bruce Whitaker are very, very important for the system.
Isolated.
No, they're very important for the system because we need people who have strong humanitarian values and know what is right and what is wrong and cannot be bought.
All right,
you see,
okay.
that's very important.
Very good. That's thank you for pointing that out. You hit the nails on the head right away, please.
And
your impression.
as I said, I'm always very concerned about the police brutality in America because this is just one incident. There are many others. And I ask myself, why don't people try to immobilize subjects rather than always kill them? Because most of the time they're shooting to kill, or in this case beating people to death. I mean, that's not necessary. 6 people must be able to control a person, no matter how much he defends or doesn't want to be controlled.
When I showed him the picture of before and after of Kelly Thomas, he was almost vomiting. He said, stop, 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 stop. I can't see it. I can't take it anymore. That was so horrific to that extent.
It is painful, and one of the most painful aspects of this was reviewing in very minute detail aspects of the video and the number of times that Kelly Thomas cried out, "I'm sorry," was calling for his father, was saying he couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And I had some very intense discussions even with the internal investigators on this, because I don't understand how people can look at the same video and see things so differently. But that's what I encountered.
Thank you very much. That's another very, very important detail. There is another, because you stopped me, you didn't want me to show the whole thing because you can't take it.
Right.
Physically, you were to an verge of vomiting, right?
Right.
But the fact is that the 6 officers claimed that Kelly Thomas was resisting arrest, was resisting. And yet, I hear myself in the video, while one of the officers, Cincinnati or something,
yes.
Cincinnati,
Yeah.
putting his rubber gloves on, while dragging the gloves like this, says, check this, this will fuck you up.
Well, that was Officer Ramos.
Oh,
That
Ramos,
was
Ramos,
right.
Ramos. I couldn't really tell the voice belonging to who. It says this. I'm sorry. This will F you, right?
Yep.
When people making that kind of statement, though, in the reflection, does that reflect that guy is resisting?
No, this is almost like premeditated murder.
Yes.
Because if you already have that intention and you say it, that means I'm going to kill you.
Yeah. What does the word F mean here? This will F you up.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, later in the case, the district attorney found that that was a terroristic threat and that Kelly Thomas was within his rights to flee the scene at that point. That was a finding by Tony Rakakis, the Orange County District Attorney. Yes.
That's very sounding. That's very sounding. What does whole thing say to you? Seem
It
to you?
says to me that, you see, there must be a great frustration in the police, within the policemen. And I have spoken to a lady the other day who was married to a policeman, and she told me that they're all mentally challenged because they witness all these things, they're insecure, and this is what results in their attitude.
Okay,
I don't buy this.
Excuse me. We'll touch that part later. We're talking about this whole thing, and I need to wrap up this segment. My dear friend, my lovely audiences, I'm so happy that finally I made it to this stage. I have somebody from Hollywood, a director who is unrelated, totally unrelated to Mr. Bruce Whitaker, to talk about the thing that from a public eye, something like that. Now, my dear friends, let's take a very short moment out. When we come back, we'll keep finding. I have a big question to ask. All right, so stay with us. Hello, my dear friends. Welcome back to the show. As a matter of fact, it's not a show, it's a demonstration. The way I call it demonstration, I see unfairness, I see misjudgment, I see things are overturned, I see the sky heaven upside down. I see the whole thing in a mess. The mess being July the 5th of 2011. Oh, I'm sorry, little correction. I said in the beginning of 2012, right? Right. 2011, that was 6 years ago. On the July 5th in the evening around 7:30 something, in Fullerton, somebody was killed by bare hand. Six pairs of hands, 12 of them, right? 6 pairs of knees, six batons, and 6 tasers, all the way to the moment like you see in this picture. Before and after. All right? You see the picture? Okay, before and after. You tell me what happened during time interval, to make somebody like that. He had ribs broken. He had this part of, well, I can call it medically, broken. And he had his face bone broken. He has scalp broken. Okay, what could one do himself to break his own bones like that much? No. All right? So with me today is my friend, dear friend, Mr. Bruce Whitaker, who is, most importantly, pay attention to, the candidate for California Senate 29th District. At the moment of voting, though, you are almost gambling. Am I right? And how are we guaranteed that this guy will not turn into a jerk once he takes office, right? Could be.
No, it's true.
We see that happen all the time. 29th District, we're being taxed for 13 more taxes or on gasoline. Yeah. And that is a fire for the one being out. Anyway, he's out. He will be ousted. Anyway, now, okay. Now, when I say voting, I'm saying there's lots and lots of unsure we're talking about. Yet, to know if we're voting for the right person, to right a human being, the only way is to dissect something to find out the quality of this human being in the case. Okay. Now, he was the only one, and he is still the only one against the other 4 of the city councils in favor of Kelly Thomas, the one who was killed. All right. With him and my dear friend, Mr. Chris Neby, director of Hollywood, and he I call a fighter for justice. I said, here's something for you to help me fight for. I showed him the video. When he saw the video, he told me that he can't see anymore. He started vomiting. So together we're talking about the case. We're talking about from the case, we want to dig out, we want to see an assurance of my friend, candidate for Senate for California, Mr. Bruce Whitaker. Welcome, sir, back to the show. Too long for a lead line, right?
Yes.
Too long for the lead line. Okay, now, you tell me, whoever can tell me, why would this happen in the same, in the first place?
Well, one of the big issues, even today, is homelessness. And so it creates a certain amount of friction between police agencies and homeless. And there were reports that Kelly had been a problem in some respects. As I go back later, though, I find a great many people willing to attest to the fact that he was gentle, that he was religious, that he was not a problem in the way that it's been described. So there are differing views on that. Police agencies seem to think of him as a troublemaker. So the question of whether there was premeditation or to send a message or everything, that's for everybody to decide. But when you view that video, the 34-minute video, the complete compilation of what occurred, it is very disturbing and it caused a great many people out there, even people who aren't homeless, but people who might have a disability, like a hearing disability or something else, that would cause them to respond slowly to a police officer. Many people were concerned that they might find their loved ones or their children being barked at by a police officer. If they didn't respond quickly enough, they might be subject to some sort of physical altercation. So we heard so much of so many of people out there who became concerned with that interaction.
Thank you very much, sir. And to my friend Chris, and you and I, a while ago, 2 weeks ago, did a show talking about poverty, right? Talking about poverty. Talking about all kinds of problems of the less fortunate. Right? And now, I have a sense that I smell some kind of a hatred in between the law enforcement and the less fortunate. It sounds almost like a culture. If it's not hatred, why would Officer Ramos say, this will F you up? Does that indicate a hatred? So your take, please.
I think there is, it's a very interesting mixture here because you see America has a culture of the gun and America has a culture of violence. And don't forget that the European colonialists who came here basically killed off the Indians and also the buffaloes in their conquest of America.
Yes, I saw the film Hostiles.
Yeah.
It is exactly telling those stories.
Right.
And I had a hard time explaining to my wife why. Okay, go ahead.
So you see, there is this culture here, and what I don't understand is why, because obviously, you know, the police officers must be encouraged in their training to act like this, because there is no reason to kill or to beat somebody to death. You can immobilize them very easy with a shot in the thigh where the people are unable to stand.
Notice Bruce just mentioned that a lot of people who they have kind of a
disability,
hearing disability, whatever, are starting to worry, well, am I supposed to act the right way? What if I acted the wrong way?
Rightfully so.
They kind of, fear was created. Okay, speaking of fear.
And citizens shouldn't be fearful of their domestic police force.
No, should be, would be, could be.
Absolutely.
Those are not true. What true fact is that we are fearful.
And what he's just describing is what many people describe as a militarization of our police force. And everything being described as a war, whether it's a war on drugs, a war on gangs, or whatever.
You know what?
It changes the context.
My wife came from China, and she knows nothing about this country. You know what I told her when I decided to do the show was in a week, right? I said, if you are by any chance stopped by a police officer, open the window, keep your hands in the air until he gets here. If he asks you for anything, tell them just to shake hand. Shake your head like that.
What's that?
Right?
It's that whole war-like thing, even a war on poverty, even a war on homelessness, right? We describe things in that term. The training follows that, and the training increasingly is more militaristic. I worked for the county government for a while, and I had oversight of public safety, including sheriff's department. And part of the lens I looked at the Kelly Thomas case was through the Chamberlain killing that happened at the Theo Lacey jail. And then I worked for a state assemblyman. I was district director, so I worked for the state of California. At the time that I ran for council and was elected to council, I wore both hats. So I've dealt with this at every level, at county, at state, and at local, at city. And there are concerns about the way that police are trained, and then sometimes policy encouragement about how they approach some of these problems.
All right.
The public
Thank
shares
you very
those
much.
concerns.
Thank you very much.
Would you say that this has escalated over the years of your experience?
Well, in my experience, it seemed as though Fullerton was almost the lighting of the fuse of many such events nationwide. And Fullerton seemed to be the first really widespread awareness of that. And then we had Missouri, we had so many other places throughout the country.
All right, very good. All right, okay, good. Thank you very much. My dear friend, my lovely audience, I'm so glad for the decision of this kind of a show, for this kind of a discussion. It's not discussion, I call it demonstration. I want to demonstrate to whoever. Anyway, here is unfairness and things needs to be overturned. Well, we want to see the fact. Okay, the true thing is that when we talk about fear, the real fear should stay in him. Number one, for him to go against the other four and the whole society, he has to have the gut. Number two, in a city when a culture of such is prevailing, you're talking about physically a risk there too, right? So let's take a short moment now. When we come back, let me, as a show host, also man, a father of two, a husband, not so lovely anyway, check with this human being, why would he have that guts? How about that?
Oh, thanks.
You want to take the challenge?
Absolutely.
Very good. Let's take the break first. Hello, dear folks, dear friends, lovely fellow Americans. Welcome back to the show. As a matter of fact, I call it demonstration. We are dissecting a case in Fullerton, 2011. A homeless guy known for 25 years in the city of Fullerton as a landmark person, as LA Time, while reporting, called Kelly Thomas a landmark kind of person. In Fullerton, was killed by 6 officers. And with me is my dear friend, Mayor of Fullerton, and he is the one, most importantly, he is the only one among the 5 who voted in favor of the victim, Kelly Thomas, who died, right? And with him is my friend, Chris Nibby. I invited him as a guest commentator. From his humanitarian point of view, we need his comment neutrally, talking about being fair or not fair. Okay, we came at the end of last segment to a point talking about lots of fear were created. Speaking of fear, though, I came to a point that the most fear should stay in he himself. I mentioned about these fears, right? Fears about you politically. Well, you were there only for 10 months, right? You were brand new.
Right.
And you have other 4 and all whoever going against you. Right. And fear number 2 would be the fact that when this being the culture, though, so you were talking about another kind of fear, your risk, right? So how did you forget all those? How dare you forget those, please?
Well, you know, if you approached your responsibilities from your own shoes, then I suppose your own fears, protection for your loved ones, things you care about would come to the fore. But when you take that oath of office, it's not just me. I'm actually representing tens of thousands of people who voted for me and support me in this role. I'm speaking on their behalf and for them. That somehow gives me a lot more backing in terms of knowing the authority of which I'm speaking is for the benefit of all those people. And they count on me, or they count on whomever as their representative, to speak truth to power. It's not an easy thing to do, but it's the only thing I know how to do. If I was unable to do that, I wouldn't seek the office, I wouldn't be sworn into office. But I take that seriously, that office oath. And now it's very important that those who are less powerful and not represented, that they be represented by a voice on a city council or in a legislature or wherever anybody takes that oath of office.
I have to convince that you got me so touched. Yeah.
I very much respect you for your position.
Seriously,
Oh,
seriously. Well, anyway, we deserve to have somebody
Yes.
with this quality. Your comment, please. I'm so touched.
As I said, you see, the politics have deteriorated and are very corrupt, and therefore, the people therefore don't believe in the politicians anymore. So politicians like him.
We lost confidence.
Yeah. So politicians like him are very important if we want to keep this country to remain the land of the free and the home of the brave. Because America is the social fabric of this country is deteriorating terribly. The geopolitics, foreign geopolitics, are also awful. So the whole situation cries for politicians who stand up for what is right and what is needed for those people who voted for them. And therefore, we have an example here of the politicians we, the people, need and want.
You know where I was touched so much? Well, he says, when I raise my hand to swear in, I know I'm serious, right? If I had not been serious, I wouldn't even raise my hand and swear. Right? Sir, question. Once you take office of California Senate 29th District, I know I myself and my audience will fight for you to win the office, which is the one we're so determined. We want only from you only one thing. Will you keep the same promise once you're there?
Well, I've been,
seriously, to God. Right?
I've been the same person for 25 years now, but as an activist, as a staffer for elected officials, as an elected official. And I, like all of you, am a voter, and I'm represented by other electeds who do frequently disappoint. And it's often said that we tend to get the government that we deserve. I think we deserve better. I think we deserve a great deal better. And it's important that we find people who have values and principles that we can align ourselves with and ignore the big money. The big money has been buying offices for so long and just reproducing the same types of people who take orders from others who aren't leaders. We do need to elect leaders at every level, at school board, at city council, at county board of supervisors, in the legislature. So
will you not keep the same promise once you're in office? Please.
You know, I'm human, and so we can all fail, but I really have a very good record that I would urge everyone to examine my record over time on fiscal matters, on trying to look out for your money properly, on trying to maintain justice and equity, and in looking out for all voters, not just my preferred set of voters. I would stack my record against anyone else in that time frame, and I think that you'll be pleased with what you see.
Thank you very so much. Thank you very so much. Your comment as my guest commentator, please. I rely on you a lot, sir.
I completely agree with him, and I urge people to vote for politicians who have that kind of attitude and that kind of moral fiber, because only when you have people like this will this country succeed to remain what it was once, the shining light on the global scenery.
Thank you very much for that comment. That's a very, very heavy-duty comment. You hit the nail on the head. After all, like I said, in time of voting or election, you're talking about gambling. You're almost gambling, literally. You're almost gambling. You never know. For example, if you're voting for me, I may next day turn myself into a garbage.
Not only that, Jack, voter apathy voter apathy, because you see, the voters in America has the lowest voter turnout of all developed nations. In Europe, we have 60, 70, 80%, and which is unheard of here. And you see, people have to go out and have to take this democracy with American characteristics seriously, and go and do their duty as citizens to vote.
Okay,
Number one.
All right.
That's very important. And then they have to check out the people they want to vote for, and vote for those who have a record of representing we the people.
After all, it's not that hard. Everything is on public record.
Right.
Right? Everything is on public record. He, my friend Bruce Whitaker, was the only one voting the only single vote in Kelly Thomas' funeral. Oh, he himself and his wife Linda, my dear friend too, went to the funeral.
Yeah.
At the city council level. That's very humane. That's very humane. I want to shake hands with you.
Right. We were later on chastised by our legal representatives that we shouldn't do that and shouldn't have done that. And I'm going, no, I wasn't elected to take those kind of orders from people. I make my own decisions. And to me, it was very important that we were there, that we observed, that we shared in the grief.
And this reminds me of one thing. My own experiences. I'm not running for any office. Okay, never vote for me. Give all your cast of all your vote to him. I'm just comparing you and mine, because your mind echoes with me, or my mind echoes with you. There was one time, a friend of mine, friend of our group, our poetic group, right, died on the freeway. Right, he in this country is of no record, no status whatsoever, illegal, something like that. I know, right now. And upon the death, I was called by the county office to the coroner's office, was there to do the paper or something. He had nobody close, right? I went there, and then I started preparing the funeral. I put some $1,000 to the basket. Say, okay, that's the foundation money. You guys throw anything in you want. And there's one lady who questioned me. You know what? She says, quote unquote, do you know or are you aware that he is illegal here? Why are you doing such a big funeral? Right, like that. You know what I said? All right, he's illegal here, okay. But does he have the right to die? Like a man?
Yeah.
That's why, sir, you and I, we echo. Linda, if you happen to be watching, I want to thank you very much, Linda. You deserve to be a friend of this show, Linda. Thank you very much. And I like that. I'm talking about human. We're human beings, right?
Right, and the least powerful and sometimes the least popular in our society deserve the same level of justice and the same amount of respect. And that's something that I hold to very much. I would invite also anyone who is kind enough to support my efforts, should I become state senator, hold me accountable. Talk to me. I'll be
good.
I won't run and hide the way some people do when they get elected. I'll still be out in the public. I'll still be talking with everyone. You see me getting off track, I want you to help put me back on track. Like I said, we're all human. We can all make a bad decision, right?
Because we make 29th district with a hobby of calling. Or recalls. A hobby of recalls. If you're not good, we call you. How about that?
You should.
All right, sounds like a deal. My dear friend, we're getting there. For the whole purpose of dissecting Kelly Thomas' case is to see the quality in my friend, Mr. Whitaker. We want to make sure once he's in there, he will not turn into somebody that we don't like, right? So, Chris, let's take this little moment out. When we come back, we want to put together all the information to see why we can, how we can make America, make California a better state. Can we please? Hello, dear friends, lovely audience, and welcome back to the show, A Demonstration for Justice. With me today is my friend, Mr. Chris Nibby, famous director. He's been here with me for many, many, many times. Only this time, he is here to help me to bring justice back to our politics. With him, which is the main character for today, is the candidate for California Senate 29th District, replacing the guy who you just called off. Remember? Josh Newman was his name, right?
Josh Newman,
right?
yeah.
And the signature campaign to recall, which was successful, and by June the guy is stepping down, and somebody new walking. I know the somebody be my good friend, who I respect a lot, Bruce Whitaker, Mayor of Fullerton. So to both of you, once again, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Jack.
Very good. Chris, you and I, we all agreed at the end of last segment that we need to hold on something to make sure that we can work for a better California. How can we, please?
I'd like the audience to know that I unfortunately cannot vote because I'm not a citizen.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm here.
Oh, that's even better because you can speak.
Yes, so I'm here.
By the side of the water.
Right, so I'm here on a total neutral position because I am always fighting for humanity and soft power. Mm-hmm. Because violence, brutality, and corruption is not going to get us anywhere on the long run. It may work on a short time, but it will not work for a long time. We need politicians who know what they're doing, cannot be bought, and have a high moral standing.
Very, very well said. That's a very sounding statement. And I say to my audiences who are voters, and by the way, my audiences like me a lot. I'm not a great man. I'm just a man like you are, who are very down to earth, talk about truth, believe in truth, and love life. That's it. Oh, by the way, I love women. Okay, we all do, don't we, right? Okay, anyway, I'm kidding. Now, I believe my audience by now they are touched too, especially touched by the fact that my friend Bruce Whitaker had the guts to go against the quote-unquote trend.
The powers.
Powerful
yes.
trend. Okay, in this whole country, we're talking about the majority, right? Sometimes the truth is in the hand of the minority, not the majority. Mm-hmm. All right. Do you not dare to fight for your truth, or for the truths that you adore, for the truths that you hold on hand? That is a big, 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 big difference. Okay. Now, I mentioned just now. I said voting is almost like gambling, right? So you're never sure about this guy. For example, myself, there is no guarantee next day. Taking office, I'm not turning myself into a jerk. Could be. So, same question when asked to my friend Bruce Whitaker, candidate for California, Senate for California, District 29, says that, well, you can recall me.
That's true.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, so that's a way to check and balance, right? And my friend Bruce says that he is not a voting citizen, but as a bystander, you see the most.
Yeah,
and
as a bystander,
that, yeah.
I can voice a very neutral opinion. And therefore, I applaud any politician who stands up against the powers that be, because he's risking a lot, because he doesn't know really what his voters think. And you cannot, that's why elections are always so surprising, because many times a candidate which is supposed to win doesn't win, and the underdog wins. So I'm at heart always for the underdog, because most of the times the underdog has the highest intellectual and moral qualification to be and to do the right thing.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much. And I want to be honest with my audiences. I didn't know Mr. Bruce Whitaker until last October something. when I started checking about the coming election, when I'm checking about who did what, who deserved an office like that, I came across him. I started to read more about him. And when I see so many positive things on and on adding up, I gave him a call. And the call falls in my friend Linda's hand. And Linda answered it in a very nice way. And they said, why don't you come here to talk? And started talking. It was not until to the point that I touched the Kelly Thomas case, which was a case that by July the 10th, I did a show supporting, I took a stand to the side of Kelly Thomas. I started my first show of Kelly Thomas on the 10th of July, on 10th of July. So
6 years ago.
Yeah, I said, oh my God, that was him. So I totally have a different take of my friend, Mr. Whitaker. So I thank you very much for being so strong as a man and being so right as a politician. And as a human, you have the set of mind.
Well, thank you especially also for appreciating my wife of 31 years, Linda.
Yeah.
Because she helps to keep me grounded very much.
Oh, 31 years, same Linda?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you know what they joke? They joke. When I go back in China, they joke. They have the culture kind of developing. Yeah. Shaking hands. Still same wife? They joke, right?
Well, 31 years, I took that oath seriously too, and that's still one of the best decisions I've ever made.
All right, very good.
Because she keeps me grounded and provides that feminine point of view, which is essential. But when you talked earlier about representing a majority, we get fooled all the time. The people who are in charge and control, they posture as though they're the majority. It's really the great many of us in the middle who represent the majority.
Yeah, you can win them.
And if we will flex our muscle collectively, we can change things and very rapidly as well. Yeah. So I feel confidently that I do represent the majority in almost every respect.
Kelly Thomas take, the Kelly Thomas case depicts you as a man of justice, and the 30 years of marriage explains the constancy. You are very constant, right? And the other political comment whatsoever, including the comment made by my friend Chris Navy, those are the heavy-duty comment that the democracy, we need those people, right? We need those people.
Yeah, we need center people. You see, we couldn't be too much on the left and too much on the right. We need people because the truth is most of the time found in the center.
Exactly. Okay. It's time to talk about election itself, though. Yes. How's the election doing so far?
It's doing well. We got some great news yesterday. There is a very large grassroots effort that's forming out of Yorba Linda and really on the east side of the district forming. People of faith, especially churches, they're pulling together and they're identifying me as their preferred candidate.
All right.
And I'm very pleased with that, and I willingly accept the expression of their values and their principles because those are things that I hold dear as well.
And you got one more endorser.
That's wonderful. And you know, but I want to just step aside just a second. What you said earlier about the gentleman who someone claimed was illegal.
Yeah.
You know, we are a tourism center for the world, Southern California. We have a great many people from everywhere globally who come here. They need to feel safe. They need to feel treated with the respect that every human being has,
yes.
Whether you're a citizen or not, if you're a visitor, if you're someone who has relatives here or whatever, you're entitled to the full protection.
That night at discussion about the funeral, I was so pushed. You know what I said? I said, when he was alive, I do not have even 1 penny of a relationship going back and forth, transaction between me and him. Wow. Now that he's dead, I will make him my dead friend. How about that?
That's very.
How about that as a challenge? Yeah. All right, I did this. I pounded on my desk. I said, I'm glad I said that. Yeah. Like I said, we're like, and he himself too. Only the like-minded people get together, right? That's the rule.
That's
right
true.
Now, the campaign website, please. I believe after this show, my friends, my audience will like it. Will like it. So, what is the campaign website, please?
Well, let me give you the email address first. It's bwwhitaker@live.com. So it's BWW.
B-E or B?
Just B.
Just a B.
And then WW, two W's, HITAKER at the @ live, live.com. And I'd be happy to hear from anyone email-wise or converse with anyone and provide any other information. My website is brucewhitaker.com, just together like one word, brucewhitaker.com. And let's see.
Never mind. And telephone number, if that can, or Linda's number. No,
Well,
I'm kidding.
no,
Linda would not.
the name for contributions for my is Bruce Whitaker for Senate 2018, and it's Post Box 1444, Fullerton, California 92836.
Never mind. Whatever you say appears on the screen
I know.
already.
I'm just emphasizing extra.
Yeah, never mind. Okay, very
But
good.
see, I often don't focus on this, and I need to because I need that help.
There's one thing I can promise you. There's one thing I can predict, right? And this kind of person is the one that we as voters been wanting for so long. Now that, thank God, we have one, we found one, they will rush for it.
Well, I can use the help very much because the other side brings a lot of money to the table, and I need to be competitive. And so I count on many smaller donors and regular people out there. I invite and I respect anything you're able to do. To help
All right, you
campaign.
earned it, you deserve it. Okay, we'll do ourselves. We will do ourselves.
Bruce Whitaker for Senate.
Yeah,
That's
Bruce
what it
Whitaker
is.
Senate. All right,
Thank you.
good.
I appreciate
All right,
that.
good. My dear audience, thank you for watching. We're over time, but I'm happy that we did this kind of a show. And with a handshake, we want to wrap it up. And thank you very much, sir, for being such a fighter and for being honest for everything. All right, Bruce. Thank you very much. I'm in Chris. Thank you very much.
And let's make it a very happy Chinese New Year.
Oh, sure.
Yes.
Happy Chinese New Year. All right. Good.
Xin